What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Tuesday. Going to have a great show today. Talked a ton of Calvin Ridley on Monday and didn't get to a really good topic that we had for yesterday's show. So we'll combine that with what the Titans have done in free agency through 1 week, what they've missed on through the first several days of free agency, and what they have to do now to keep the competitive pace with the AFC South, also with the rest of the conference, and what they're trying to do with Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan's first go at it to build a competitive football team. So we'll go through and revisit something that we discussed last week as Zach and I talked about how aggressive will the Titans be in free agency before it began. And we'll see what that aggressive level really was through the first week and find out some players that they have not gotten on the defensive side of the football, go through what they have to do now and bring in some good defenders as they put a lot of the resources on the offensive side of the ball, which honestly, I was not expecting as much. I was expecting more of a defensive free agent haul, but they went heavy offense. Very exciting with Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard, Lloyd Cushenberry, and others. But what's the defense going to look like? And then it is a throw-in shade Tuesday, so we'll throw some shade. If you got shade on your chest, let it off. Let's get into that today. Zach, welcome in. Going to have a good show on this Tuesday morning. What's up?
Yeah, good to be back in the saddle. Got a lot to get to talk about free agency, second wave on the horizon, and we'll find out what a bunch of other teams are going to do. And then, it's highway to the draft after that. So we'll maneuver as we do throughout, and we want more people in the chat. How that works is you guys tune in each and every morning on 3 different platforms that we broadcast on, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We will tweet out segment by segment, link by link on our Twitter handle at A to Z Sports. Always a great follow there if you are a Titans fan, a sports fan. Also follow our All NFL Twitter handle at A to Z Sports NFL. So look us up on Twitter and give us a follow there as we expand all coverage. That's what we've been doing over the last couple of years. And we have coverage for all 32 teams now. So follow us at A to Z Sports NFL. We launched that handle here recently, and it gives you every single thing that you need. If you're watching this show, you can tune in on YouTube. That's the easiest way to go about it. Make sure you subscribe, like this video, and ring the bell. Make sure your alerts are on so when we go live, you are notified. That is the best and easiest way to do that on YouTube. Just search A to Z Sports Nashville. And Facebook, what's going on Facebookers, bottom left corner of your screen. Share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing, as we say on this show. So share the show around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed. We'll get this party started on a Tuesday.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. That's at A to Z Sports. And also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go to make them a part of your new car buying process. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans at fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 great locations across the mid-state, Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. They are online at KrebsKubota.com. So, Zach, we talked a ton of Calvin Ridley conversation yesterday. We did not get to a topic that we wanted to address yesterday and revisit a conversation that you and I had last Monday before the Titans began free agency. But the Titans did a lot of big things. They spent roughly $130 million or $230 million, in total contract value over the first week of free agency, filling holes at Tony Pollard with running back to go along with Tajay Spears as Derrick Henry goes to Baltimore. Obviously, Lloyd Cushenberry, the biggest center on the market, comes to Nashville and gets the most guaranteed money of any center in NFL history. You get Kenneth Murray Jr., who's a really high athletic, high upside linebacker who struggled early in his career. Sadiq Charles, an offensive lineman who played college ball with Lloyd Cushenberry. The big one of Calvin Ridley Jr., or Calvin Ridley, who signed $92 million over 4 years coming from Jacksonville. Mason Rudolph, the backup quarterback that has gone completely undiscussed because of all the Calvin Ridley news. So a lot of good things there for the Tennessee Titans and what they've been able to do. Chidobe Awuzie coming from Cincinnati on the defensive side. But Rand Carthon went on with Ramon, Kayla, and Will and discussed the moves that were made and how it felt like the Titans were a little bit of a snake in the grass and being very, very quiet, and then jumped out and struck and were aggressive at the right time last week as free agency opened.
Yeah, because, in this information age, like you said, things happen. Everybody has sources. But these are good players that I'm pretty sure that their, previous teams wanted back. And so if there was any way for those guys to be tipped off, and especially during the negotiation period, I mean, those guys can have contact, if I'm not mistaken, with their current players, and we can't. And so, these guys haven't met us, and these guys don't know anything about our program other than the contract, that we're offering. So, it's best for us to kind of stay low-key and, stay off the grid, and just, hopefully have a good product to sell. And I think, with what we're building, I think people automatically know, just from the history of the Tennessee Titans, what it is and what it means to play here. And then, you add in Coach Callahan and what he's doing and the staff he's built, and just the amount of relationships that this current staff has, it's all beneficial to us. So we just want to, do our part and keep working to, build this thing to the best of our ability.
So look, I think the key thing is the connections this coaching staff has. We're able to give them a leg up in a lot of these quick, under the radar, quiet negotiations. But they were aggressive last week, Zach. But it felt like they were aggressive in silence. Nobody had the Titans on the radar for really Lloyd Cushenberry. Chidobe Awuzie made a lot of sense, obviously, with the Brian Callahan connection. But the Calvin Ridley, the Mason Rudolph type signings, they felt like they came out of left field and really caught a lot of people by surprise.
Well, I'm curious to see how you guys view this, right? So I actually want to jump into our question because I think it's valuable. Last week when we said before we knew anything, before the Tony Pollard signing, it kind of broke everything wide open. What was your aggressive level on what they should be? Not what they would be, but what they should be. What was your level?
I said on a 1 through 10 scale, I thought the Titans should be at a 6.5 out of 10.
Which we said is defined as slightly aggressive.
Yes, because there was a report that came out from Adam Kaplan, I believe it was, who said the Titans would be, quote, fairly aggressive. And we said fairly aggressive was around 7 to 7.5 out of 10.
I said 8. I wanted them to sign players. They had money to spend. They got a brand new head coach. This is kind of the first offseason that Rand can really do whatever the F he wants without old Mike Vrabel steaming in there and giving his 2 cents, right? That dynamic definitely affected something last year. You could tell it, right? Based on the signings that they had. They didn't go all in. They kind of tapped the water because I think Mike Vrabel felt like that team a year ago had more meat on the bones when really they looked more like a skeleton. Not very good. So moved on from there. I thought they should be an 8. Let's ask now, looking back of what we now know in week 1, because I do have some questions I want to throw out there. But the first question is, how aggressive were the Titans in all actuality from a 1 through 10 scale? We talked a lot about what is defined by numbers of aggressiveness. That's the question we're asking the chat. So chat, goes to the chat, type in your answer. How aggressive 1 through 10 were the Titans in all actuality in you guys' opinion? I feel like we're going to get a lot of good numbers.
I think they're going to be great. You know, it's also great. Our A to Z bracket challenge. I've got that link in the description on both Facebook and YouTube descriptions. We've had over 100 brackets have already signed up, and that is thanks to our great partners for our bracket challenge this year. Prince's Hot Chicken, the original hot chicken of Nashville, and their brand new location at Tanger Outlets in Nashville. So the overall winner of our bracket challenge this year gets a big screen TV. That's our staple every year in March Madness. It doesn't matter where you live, we will get you a big screen TV for our bracket challenge winner. And then local winners in the Nashville area will get gift cards to Prince's Hot Chicken and a gift card to the Tanger Outlets in Nashville. The Tanger Outlets in Nashville is your favorite brands on sale every day. Nashville's newest shopping destination with up to 70% off your favorite brands. And they've also got a lot of good food and entertainment around their brand new shopping destination, including the Prince's Hot Chicken location, bursting with heat and flavor. There's nothing better than the original. At Tanger, at Prince's, at Tanger, they're running a Madness special this month. 10 winglets with choice of heat, fries, and a fountain drink for $17.50. That's a great way to watch all of the college basketball games starting tonight. So there you go. Starting tonight at Prince's Hot Chicken at the Tanger Outlets, 10 winglets with choice of heat, fries, and a drink for $17.50 to sign up for our bracket challenge. I will drop that link in the chat. But Zach, I will let you get busy answering the aggressive levels on a 1 through 10 basis from the audience this morning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Dad to the Bone says 7. IR says 4.5, which is not even close to being correct. So IR, I'm just going to call you out. That's dead ass wrong. Scott says 7. Raz says 7. Jared says 6. Orlando says 6.4. Duran Lee says 7.7. Mario goes 7. Yuri 7. Paul 7. 8, but some big misses. 7.6 from Sam the Man. Give him a solid 7. We're talking aggressiveness level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stephen King says 7.258. Billy Jones goes 8. Ashley goes 7. They were a 9 on offense. So now separating offense to defense. We'll talk about defense later on in the show and maybe what they still have left to do. So far, Eric goes 7. John says 7. Big Ten Jeff 7. Could have gotten more holes filled. Chris Frazier goes 9, which is the highest that we've seen. 6.9 goes Lucas, which is nice. John 7. Guy 7. Couple 8s rolling in with Jake, Tighten Up, and Sean. Maven goes 8.2. Dylon goes 6. Chad with 8. 8 for sure. No less, no higher from Jeffrey Mullins. Linwood has 9. Haven't seen a single 10, so we haven't gotten to the Richter scale.
Good. That's 10. Not what it should be. That should not be an answer.
Neither
should 4.5.
I would ask, and because now let's compare, right? Who was more aggressive than the Titans this free agency?
Well, I do have.
No, I think that's a good, because that was the first thing that popped in my head with this question. Give me an example of a team or teams, because there may be multiple, that is or more aggressive week 1 than the Tennessee Titans.
Well, the Texans have signed 14 players. that is
quantity, quality, right?
But
Eye of beholder. That's why I'm saying.
I think, and look at the chat. Look at the chat. Look at the chat. The Texans are the most popular answer flying in here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch with that question. Who has been more aggressive? The Texans have been insanely aggressive. If you look at, the Panthers have signed a lot of players. The Falcons have been. I think you can make the Falcons being aggressive because of the individual move of Kirk Cousins in giving that guy $180 million, right?
So again, quality, quantity, right? I'm asking the question. I'm not saying that there is a direct answer. I just think that's how I approach this number is let's look at what has happened, what has occurred, and compare teams and where do the Titans place with aggressiveness with what their team was and what their team is now and what other teams were and what other team. I think Kirk Cousins, I think there's absolute value there. The Falcons had a quarterback problem. Raheem Morris, their new head coach, told us that. And then they went out and attempted to fix the problem.
Right. So I'm going to and I've got data here on this, Zach. I'm going to use the total guaranteed money given to help me come up with my analysis on who was the most aggressive team in free agency. And the total guaranteed money allotted is the Atlanta Falcons with 133 million guaranteed. Now, so much of that is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
because they
buying
only
his third house for his family of 4.
Oh my gosh. Kirk Cousins is on the way to be the highest paid highest earning NFL player in history, only behind Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford.
You know what? Kirk Cousins should buy a Kohl's outlet store in Atlanta just as a closet, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that guy knows how to game the system. The second most guaranteed money handed out so far in free agency. Do you want to have a guess, Zach? If the Falcons are number one, what is your guess for the second most guaranteed money allotted for behind the Falcons? Who do you think it is?
It's crazy because the Steelers only paid $1 million for Russell Wilson. I mean, the Texans have a lot of players. The Chiefs re-signed Chris Jones. The Bucks.
The Buccaneers are even at 100 million. They are not second. They are in the top third, though. The Chiefs have given out 113. They're also a little above the Bucks there. They're in the top third. The Texans are fourth. 121 mil. Guaranteed. Total guarantees. Let me tell you?
Yeah.
Tennessee Titans. The second most guaranteed total money given behind Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. So if you
I got distracted. You don't even know who's in your own house.
That's right.
You got distracted about all the other people.
The Tennessee Titans have given out $125 million of total guaranteed money across 8 different players, and Kirk Cousins with 5 total players, $133 million for the Falcons. The Giants and the Texans and the Panthers plus the Raiders are right there. So when you're talking about who's been the most aggressive, you have to put the Falcons, the Titans, the Giants, the Texans, and the Panthers as the top 5 most aggressive teams in the NFL through free agency thus far.
So when I asked that question, I had 3 teams in mind. The Giants and the Panthers, I think, get the hell out of here. I think that you guys started it with the Falcons, obviously with Kirk Cousins. They kind of flipped. They went for it, right? Tom Brady out. The Bucs are still, the Bucs kind of stayed the same, right? They lost Devin White. They retained Baker and Mike Evans. They didn't get any just exponentially better. Panthers are fine. The Falcons actually went for it, right? I felt like they changed. The Texans, they smelled blood in the water because they drafted a quarterback 2nd overall. They don't have a pick because they traded that away, right, for Will Anderson. And now you're sitting there and they're a playoff team after picking 2nd in the NFL. They went for it. So when I thought of aggressiveness around the Titans, I thought Falcons and Texans. Yeah. I also thought you could make an argument that the Titans could be the most aggressive team last week because of what they did and the money that they spent and the new players that they attained. Tony Pollard and Calvin Ridley, who are on our thumbnail this morning, are big-time players. Those are household names, right? They're not Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson, but they're in that probably like 2nd tier.
Yeah, Tony Pollard, because he was the Cowboys running back for the last 2 years, going over 1,000 yards, and Calvin Ridley for all the different things that have made him a household name in the NFL, whether it's good or bad, over the last 2.5, 3 years. Because remember, 3 years ago, before all the stuff happened with Calvin Ridley's gambling stuff, he was a 1,400-yard receiver that was outdoing Julio Jones with the Falcons. And then he comes in and he has the issues there. But yeah, I think Tony Pollard is absolutely a name. I would say another caveat to this is the Texans have given out the most money in 2024. 2024 guaranteed dollars. The Texans are number 1 in the NFL with 14 different players. I did comment from Nick says, Austin, that means the Titans had to increase the guaranteed money just to get free agents to sign. Yeah, as Buck coined last week, the we suck tax. And if you look at the other top guaranteed money spending teams, Falcons suck, Titans suck, Giants suck, Panthers suck. The only one that didn't was the Texans. And the Texans gave out year one guaranteed money across 14 different players because they have we got CJ Stroud and we're way ahead of schedule than what we thought we were going to be type of situation. And
we
so they're
got
giving
guaranteed
money
4 more years.
Yes. And so they're giving out money right now to go make the most out of it. So, all right. So you answered they should be an 8 out of 10 aggressive. I answered they should be a 6 out of 10 aggressive. What were the Titans? You went through a lot of the chat comments. What is your answer on the aggressive level out of 1 through 10 that they actually were?
I thought the chat was wrong. They were wrong by a number. Now, a couple of chat members got it right, but the Titans were a 9. They were more aggressive than I thought they should be or would be. I love it. I love the fact that they did this. I think that Rand Carthon, the Calvin Ridley move was excellent. I thought he set the tone early. He addressed positions of need. There's a lot of positions of need, so there's still some positions out there. But Austin, that's why I wanted to go through that exercise. The Titans are easily a 9. I thought about giving them a damn 10, but then I kind of said, if they would have gotten like Chase Young, which we'll hit on here shortly, or another big time blockbuster on the defensive side of the ball, I think they're vaulted to 10. But because there's still some space in the glass, I couldn't give them a 10, but they're a hard 9. You walk into the bar and your head turns, that's a hard 9. You're damn, that's hard 9 right there. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to argue based on the exercise that we just went through.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to go against the 9. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? You said you love it. Yes, it's very exciting. I think the Titans get credit for being aggressive in names that they've missed on, right? Because this is something as well that I want to point out is that 2 defensive players that are good players, are talented players at positions of need for the Titans visited the Titans and went elsewhere. The Seahawks signed Dolphins linebacker Jerome Baker to a 1-year, $7 million contract. And then the Saints brought in Chase Young for a 1-year, fully guaranteed $13 million deal with the Saints. Jerome Baker visited the Titans last week and walked out of the building without an offer. Now, is that something because both guys got 1-year deals when they landed? Maybe there was some underlying situations with what the Titans didn't want to commit to with those 2 players, but the Titans don't really have an inside linebacker that you can wear the green dot. I don't think you're giving that to Kenneth Murray Jr. based off of his 4 years with the Chargers. And Chase Young is the most talented pass rusher available. And the Titans have Harold Landry. They lost to Nico Autry. And on the edge, Arden Key's a solid player, but he should be your 3rd edge rusher if you're competing for legitimate playoff wins. And he's right now their 2nd behind Harold Landry. So do they get credit for the ones they haven't gotten in free agency too for their aggressiveness?
I mean, maybe slight because you want to try, right? It shows that they are active and that they realized that they were a bad football team prior to last week, right? And they improved their football team by going out and spending money. We mentioned Tony Pollard coming from the Cowboys. Cowboys fans are frustrated because they want to get that next edge to get over the top. And Jerry sat back and, they weren't aggressive. They didn't even talk to Derrick Henry, right? Those are the type of things. So, yeah, I do think that there is some credit given based on like what we know a little bit more now. I am glad they didn't get Chase Young. I thought that there's a reason why Chase Young only got a 1-year deal, right? I think it's known. When I think of Chase Young, I think of Jadeveon Clowney, a guy that can all of a sudden surge on one play and then all of a sudden just take a play off. Don't feel like it. He doesn't have the Max Crosby heat that his knee is torn up and he's still going to go out and get sacks and you're going to have to drag him off the field, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't have that dog in him, as they say. So I was okay with not doing Chase Young, who I've seen multiple times in person, weirdly, like at the draft and in Las Vegas. Like he's walking around, like, and big dude, tall dude. I'm glad they passed on him, and there's a reason why I got a 1-year deal. Middle linebacker is unique because that has to be addressed. I mean, you brought it up. They need a central middle linebacker that leads this defense that we felt like, right? Like last year, I thought they did a pretty good job with Azeez. I thought that fit. He had the mojo. You could see him on plays. He brought the juice. Well, now he's a division rival with the Texans.
Yep.
I don't know what their strategy is to go replace him, but they're going to have to, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So, all right. There are other players the Titans have missed out on in free agency, mostly on the defense. So we'll discuss those other players the Titans have swung and missed on and get to who's next. But first, Zach, tell everybody about our great friends, our great partners at Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com is where to go to get your new health plan. Health, dental, and vision. I count on them and have counted on them over the last several years. If you are in the state of Tennessee, a Tennessean currently, they got 200 plus locations and agents all over the state. Middle Tennessee, East, West, it doesn't matter. They've been doing this for over 75 years, and they have been counted on by the Tennessee Titans, the Tennessee Vols, A to Z Sports, trusted across a wide array of businesses and personal use. You can find it for you personally, you and your family. They have your perfect plan. All you have to do is go to fbhp.com/A to Z, take a health assessment, get a quote, and make a decision. You're not forced to do anything, but I looked at it. I saved 20% and I got a better plan than my previous health plan. Check on Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee today at fbhp.com/ATOZ.
All right, it is March. It is time to take advantage of the best month of BetMGM and college hoops that there is. You can always win big if you haven't signed up yet. With our bonus code ATOZ Sports, you get the best first bet offer out there, up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. But hey, Tennessee, you can happily root on for some upsets with BetMGM. Go to your account and sign in, and go to spin the March matchups wheel and receive a 10 through 16 seeded team for the tournament. If that double-digit seeded team squad makes it to the final 16, you win a share of $100,000 in bonus bets. It's free to play. I spun the wheel yesterday. My team is 13 seeded Vermont, which all they got to do is upset Duke. Duke is known to have these early exits in the tournament.
Not that early.
No, hey, that's happened before. I've seen it happen before. I've seen Duke as a 3 or a 4 lose in the first weekend. And hey, if Vermont makes it to the final 16, I am all about that. So go spin the March Madness wheel right there with March matchups and our friends at BetMGM. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only. New and existing customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligible requirements. Rewards issued and eligible bonus bets that expire in 7 days. And for problem game of support, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789.
Real quick, I have my team. UAB, the Blazers versus San Diego. I know that was a really good pick. UAB, San Diego State, they've gotten down the last couple of games. They ended up losing to New Mexico in the conference championship. But I was like, I'll take the Blazers. They're playing good ball right now.
That's right. That is a good spin for you. Vermont and UAB. Let's see how that goes. All right. Other free agents the Titans have missed on. We talked about Jerome Baker, 1 year, $7 million to go be the inside linebacker for the Seahawks, and $13 million fully guaranteed for 1 year for Chase Young in New Orleans with the Saints. And this was from Buck, who was responding to some tweets last night after his primetime show about a similar topic, the Titans missing out on players they wanted. The Titans wanted C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who returned to Philadelphia after being in Detroit. They wanted Jerome Baker. They wanted Eric Armstead, who was cut by the Niners for a salary cap situation. Rand Carthon had that relationship there. Instead, Eric Armstead goes to the Jags in the division. They missed out on Chase Young, as we talked about. DJ Reader, who is a Bengal, goes to, where did DJ Reader go? It was not Detroit. Maybe it was Detroit. I think it might have been Detroit. And then the two left to sign, Justin Simmons cut by the Broncos and cornerback L'Jarius Sneed, who is a franchise tag cornerback for the Chiefs. Zach, of these guys, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Jerome Baker, Eric Armstead, Chase Young, and DJ Reader, which of those misses hurts the most for this team when you're looking at the defensive holes on the roster? Because those are also –
It's easy. It's Eric Armstead.
Okay.
That is the answer. It replaces Danico Autry. You have the connection with Rand Carthon. You put him next to Jeffrey Simmons, and instead he goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The only worst thing that could happen is he went to the Houston Texans, right? But that, I think, is simple. Looking at the landscape of all of those players, I think you sit there and the player that he is next to Jeffrey Simmons, you talk about internal pressure, interior, boom. That's where you bust it up. And you know who that helps? That helps your edge guys in Arden Key and Harold Landry. So I thought that was a good tweet because it kind of, summarized all the things that have happened. But when I saw that when Armstead got released, and understandably because of money, they were going to have to pay. But
and health, he's coming off a meniscus tear in surgery.
Yeah, and I think that it's not a Caleb Farley back. Let's just say that.
It's a meniscus, which is the best thing to tear in your knee if you're going to tear it.
Right. So I think easy recovery, justified to pay a guy that can help you. But ultimately, I don't know what the negotiations were or why the decision was made to go to Jacksonville.
It was a lot of money. I think it was like $50 million for like a 3-year deal. And for a guy who's in his 30s, Eric Armstead getting that type of money, I think it was an average of 17 per year to go to Jacksonville. So that's big time cash for a guy who's been injured, is currently coming off an injury, wasn't playing his best football late because of those type of situations. But it was a lot of money to go to Jacksonville. And so could the Titans have swung and landed that deal after giving out already the second most guaranteed money, not even including Eric Armstead? If they brought in Eric Armstead for that, then you can add like another like $15-20 million, would have had them jump the Falcons and Kirk Cousins by like $15 million in guaranteed cash.
The 49ers are the strangest franchise that doesn't have a recent Super Bowl. I mean, they had just DeForest Buckner at one point. They had Armstead, who they had to cut, Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, the list, George Kittle, the list goes on and on and on and on. And they've got a substantial offensive line. They got Greenlaw. I mean, it's wild. John Lynch, who was one of my favorite players growing up because he was a buck and hit you in the mouth, right in the hole. He has done a phenomenal job. And just to see, I get, obviously there's a side conversation of like the amount of players that have come out is very impressive. And Armstead, I think that probably, good at finding talent. You're absolutely correct, Curtis C. And that talent, they go on to other places. That's why I think I've probably got an affinity, because I look at the whole thing and I said, Armstead next to Jeffrey Simmons, sign me up, please. Now it's a big signature, as you noted the dollar figure.
Yeah, I mean, Curtis's comment, the Niners are good at finding talent. Yeah, that's why the Titans were interested in getting Rand Carthon. And from what I played earlier from Rand Carthon's interview on Ramon Kalen Will from Friday, the connections that Rand and Brian Callahan have been able to bring in have helped them thus far in free agency, even if they've missed on some pretty notable names. I think Armstead's an easy answer here for you, as you said, on what they've missed on. But another thing that I find interesting is if they wanted in on CJ Gardner-Johnson as a safety, and they wanted in on CJ Gardner-Johnson early in free agency, then he goes back to Philadelphia. Justin Simmons and some other big names, Eddie Jackson. There's a lot of names at safety, but we've heard some interest in Justin Simmons. He's still out there, but there hasn't been really any urgency for the Titans to go replace CJ Gardner-Johnson and bring them in fast, which makes me think that they held CJ Gardner-Johnson up here high at safety, and the other safeties might be a couple notches lower to where they're not prioritizing those guys after they lost on Gardner-Johnson.
Well, what you get in week 2 of free agency, you get players that think they're more valuable than the league thinks they are. So they and their agents want more money closer to week 1 players, and teams are just going to say, We don't value you that way. And they sit, and that's where it happens every single year. And I think you just kind of showcased a couple of examples of those, and more of that will happen. And then they'll drag on a little bit further. And that's kind of the game of chicken, is how long are you going to wait out? Oh, well, we have so much value. We'll get signed before the season, right? So that is kind of the fun of viewing the game between agent and team. I think that's an example of that.
All right, so let's get to it now. Which of these Titans, or what defensive position do you want the Titans to prioritize in free agency now? So they've gotten a lot of work done on offense, right? Lloyd Cushenberry, Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard. They got, backup quarterback and Mason Rudolph. NWI is coming back for his 5th year again, signing a 1-year deal. Sadiq Charles has come in to help the offensive line depth to go along with his college teammate, Lloyd Cushenberry. So a lot of resources, and a lot of that guaranteed money, the $125 million that they've spent in guaranteed money so far, has been on the offensive side of the football. So what defensive position do the Titans need to prioritize in free agency now? There's 4 up for grabs. Inside linebacker is a big need, safety, cornerback, and interior defensive line. So of those 4, inside backer, safety, cornerback, and interior D-line, which of those 4 positions on defense should the Titans prioritize now? Because they got to go get some more right there, because I don't know who's playing for them if they had to play soon. But before we get to all of your answers, the Bone and Joint Institute can take care of you whenever an injury occurs in life. In Franklin, Tennessee, right off of I-65 and Murfreesboro Pike, it's so easy to get to the Bone and Joint Institute. You basically avoid all traffic because it's right off the interstate and so easy for you to find it, see it, get in, get taken care of, and get out. And the Bone and Joint Institute has all of the experts. They're the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. To go along with their experts, they have all the resources and all of the machinery and technology under one roof. Clinics, surgery center, rehab facility, imaging, testing is all right there. You don't have to go all over town. You have one location, you got to remember, right there in Franklin off of I-65 and Murfreesboro Pike. And their website is very easy to navigate as well. If you have an injury, you need to book an appointment, you go to boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports, we are powered by BetMGM. Austin told you about spinning the wheel. I spun the wheel yesterday. Vermont, UAB. That is a fun promotion. I was excited.
Like
now I go Blazers, right? This is a weird thing. I actually had a good BetMGM night last night. That was one of those that I was tired and I had to go to bed. I could not stay up and watch the Los Angeles Lakers destroy the Atlanta Hawks. But my 4-player, same team parlay, boom goes the dynamite, all hit. Thanks to BetMGM. That's a little fun late night. Wake up in the morning. Oh, I got more money than I went to sleep with. Well, thank you, BetMGM. Download the app today. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports for new users. That is the king of the sports books. Download the BetMGM app in your Apple or Android app store today.
All right. So, Zach, we've got the question is, what defensive position do the Titans need to prioritize in free agency now? We're giving 4 options: inside linebacker, safety, cornerback, or interior defensive line. They have holes at all 4 of them, but what is the bigger priority right now as free agency continues into week 2? So, Zach, I will send you the chat. We also need more likes on the show, so hit that like button for us on Facebook, on YouTube. What's the chat saying here about this question?
Devin's going cornerback, inside linebacker, need a defensive captain from Big Ten Jeff. Jake says safety because Molden is the backside. Esco says linebacker, nose tackle from Lou Man. that actually kind of got me right there. Top tier corner. Let's see. Mario says middle linebacker, defensive line from Stephen King, corner from IR, inside linebacker from Gerard, excuse me. Ashley goes linebacker. Duran goes defensive tackle to help Jeffrey Simmons. Nathaniel, corner. Billy, safety. Kenneth also goes safety. So does Big G. Isaac goes cornerback. Eric goes inside linebacker. Has to be something out there. Inside linebacker from Danny. DB from Curtis. Hashtag goes linebacker. Interior defense from Maven. Jay goes cornerback. Hello, ladies, says cornerback. Steven Rodriguez goes linebacker. So, look, there's a lot. I thought the chat very diverse in the answers. I think that means that we asked a good question. Adam says safety and gave good options, right? And thank you. Dylon recognizes that it was a good question. It was a good question with, I think, good options because all are needed, all are valued. And also, I think the biggest key for this particular answer is how do the Tennessee Titans feel about these positions within the draft and the depth, right? Because first and second round, don't have a third, you're dropped to the fourth, and you got more picks in the later rounds. Can you find your Jayon Brown, right? Can you find your Avery Williamson? I don't know, right? I think that's the exciting part about what they're doing. I love how they prioritized offense for their young quarterback to figure that out. Now they got to look to defense to see where they're going to spend money versus where they're going to spend draft assets. What position do you think they need to focus on and target next?
I think that you have to pair the draft in it. And that's why I think they went after Tony Pollard so high. And that's why I think all the running backs went like the first 2 days because the running backs in the draft class are not very strong. Oh, so the Titans, I doubt, are going to go defense with either their top 2 picks, And so that means you're not picking defense right now until 105.
They may second round, depending on the player. They're not going to do it. First round, I'm a flip. I have a lot of tension built up about this pick in the first round and what I think that they should do and they better do. The second round's a little different because and this is why this conversation is so valuable. What are they going to do this week to kind of tell us maybe a little bit more where they're focusing on the draft?
So I think safety is interesting, and they brought in Marcus May for a visit. So there's at least some priority there. They've had interest in Justin Simmons, but safety has the most available solid players at free agency right now. Like it's Jamal Adams, Justin Simmons, Eddie Jackson, Quandre Diggs, Micah Hyde, Tracy Walker, Marcus May, Jaron Kearse. Those guys are either 28, 29, 30 or older. Now it's a plug and play guy that you're looking for at this point. So I think they either sign Marcus May this week after his visit or they wait a little longer on safety. When you're looking at where it's drying up at linebacker, that's where I think they need to go find themselves an inside linebacker. Because, I mean, even right now, I don't know the options. I mean, it's like the names are not very appealing. Like Quan Alexander at 29 years old is an inside linebacker that you're looking like. You already have Isaiah Simmons and Kenneth Walker Jr. So the inside linebackers are very underwhelming. Zach Cunningham, Tyler Matakevich, no, he's 31 years old. Like, there's just nothing. Shaquille Leonard, inside linebacker, no. It's just really, really thin at inside backer. Blake Martinez is a guy who can wear the green dot. I just really don't know what options there are. So, you know what? I'm going to change my answer.
Has been such, wouldn't you consider it disappointment? Shaq Leonard jumped on the scene and was like, damn. Like, and then injury obviously got him. And then he just kind of faded. I feel like there was some politics.
Well, he had a big back surgery.
You know, look, injury. I definitely think that. But even coming off of that, they didn't play him when he wanted to play. Like, there was, I don't know. I think there was some interior politics with the Colts. But, yeah, I think your point is well taken. Who are the guys you're looking at said positions?
Yeah, and Shaq is Darius.
Darius is Shaq.
Yeah, that's the confusion.
Finkel is Einhorn.
Because
kind of the same concept.
Yeah, because I think when I hear of like a linebacker named Shaq, I think of like Shaq Barrett, not Shaq Leonard. Like it's anyway.
Timeout. I'm calling it TO. This is a quick shade. It's on shade day. This is not my shade, but I am it's being brought up. don't try to change your name midlife. Okay, don't do that. If anybody watched Vanderpump Rules with their wife, Rachel, your name's Raquel. We can't call you Rachel. Your name's Darius. We can't call you Shaq. Like, cut that, okay? If you want to put on your nameplate senior or junior as an ode to your family or father, I don't mind that. But you can't change your first name. Like, oh, I'd like for you to call me Z instead of Zach. Shut the F up. Like, I am shade on that midlife name change. And I'm done.
Yeah, like a Valentino Blake from Antoine Blake. Oh man. Yeah, it is funny. All right. So what is your answer here? Because I'm actually going to change. I think they need to go after safety. The safeties are the best players available. I don't want any part of those inside linebackers. If I'm the Titans, I'm hoping some inside linebacker gets DeAndre Hopkins this summer, and you can get him, in June or July because he got cut before June 1st. So that's what I'm hoping for inside linebacker. I say you have to go after safety.
Yeah, I thought about that. I thought the same concept of what you thought on inside linebacker. I look at the corners and how do you feel about the corners? You feel a little bit better, but you don't feel great. I think I'll go back to the idea of, and I'll admit, it goes back to the draft. How do you value the positions? So if you value that you could get somebody, Jeffrey Simmons is going to be there for the next several years. Is there an interior defensive lineman that you're high on to pair him with that is going to be his Bash brother for 4 years?
I think interior D line is going to be a rotating door of guys who are high motor type of people, right?
Because you can't pay that much money to two guys, right? Because Jeffrey Simmons is making too much money. So I'm trying to check all the boxes. I think I go back to now narrowing down safety and corner. I think you've already addressed corner, so I think I agree with you at safety. And that is just a process of elimination.
I mean, the cornerbacks are better. They have better names than the inside linebackers, but it's like Xavier Howard just cut by the Dolphins, 30 years old. J.C. Jackson has been bad at 28 years old. Adoree Jackson, you've been there, done that. You don't want any part of Adoree, do you? Stephon Gilmore is 33. Avonte Maddox is the youngest at 27, but he's not been very good. You want Patrick Peterson?
No.
How old do you think, Sam and I talked about this, how old do you think Patrick Peterson is? This is me flipping the age game on you. How old do you think?
36. I have no idea.
He's only 33 years old.
He feels like he's 46.
I know. That's what I said last week.
He's Greg Paulus, in my opinion.
Yes.
And if anybody knows the little March Madness, Greg Paulus was in college for forever.
Yeah, Syracuse quarterback. Yeah, Syracuse quarterback, Greg Paulus. But 33 years old for Pat Peterson. So, look, I think it's the safety. And you've got legitimate names and good players. I don't want any part of Jamal Adams. I don't think that's the case. Plus, he's a strong safety. You've already got Amani Hooker. You need somebody to pair with Hooker. So I think it's Justin Simmons. I think, Marcus May is already visiting. I think it's kind of one of those two guys. Eddie Jackson is intriguing, former Alabama player. And Quandre Diggs, I think from Seattle, is a good player. He's 31, but those guys are all 30, 31 years old. But I think that's an okay thing, right? If you can have Amani Hooker, who's 25, to go with a Justin Simmons and Marcus May, I think that's a good fit for the back end for at least the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think that's why I say process by elimination based on the draft and then what's already on your roster of who you're going to pay and what you're looking for. And then the big thing is the availability that you just went through. It X's out a couple of the four positions. So I think safety is the correct answer.
Yeah, safety is the correct answer. Some more comments here to get to you guys. I see here a super chat as well. But first, I want to tell you guys all about Krebs Kubota, Middle Tennessee's preferred equipment provider. They've got 3 great locations across the mid-state: Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. Family owned and operated for over 18 years. Krebs Kubota strives to have the best customer service that you could possibly find across the equipment industry. If you need a new mower, new trimmer this spring, or other power units with implementations and applications for your projects around your home, your property, residential or commercial. If you need to buy or rent the equipment, Krebs Kubota has you covered. They are an elite Kubota dealer, which means they have the best equipment available and the best warranties available. You got to have all of those, plus customer service to rely upon the people at Krebs Kubota, because they do a great job with their team online at KrebsKubota.com.
A to Z Sports are powered by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app today. As you see on the bottom of your screen, use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. Get up to $1,500 back in bonus bet if your first bet misses with using the promo code. You got to use the promo code when you sign up for new users, though. ATOZSPORTS. Right there, all one word, no spaces. Use that bonus code if you're a new user and get in on the action as things start to ramp up in March.
All right, I see Curtis says, can the Titans trade for Jalen Ramsey? Jalen Ramsey looked pretty excited when he saw Calvin Ridley go to the Titans, but I don't think the Titans have anything to trade for a player like that. And Jalen Ramsey's all of a sudden, he is getting a lot older to where he might be towards the end of his prime. Austin Burns says, didn't Patrick Peterson play for Tennessee State? No, that was LSU. You're thinking of Antonio Rogers Cromartie. Yeah. You're thinking of
How
him.
old is Antonio Rogers Cromartie?
Mm. 35.
37.
Close. Okay. Fairly close.
Wait,
Eric Davis.
What did you say his first name was?
I was wrong. It's not Antonio. Antonio Cromartie. It's
Dominique.
Dominique. DRC. Dominique Rogers Cromartie.
DRC. Yeah.
Eric Davis says, I combined two people. But anyway, Eric Davis.
Well, he combined three names. So, like, fair is fair.
Right. Heard Justin Simmons wants $15 million a year. I don't know if that's the case, but he's a good player who's coming off of another Pro Bowl in Denver. He thinks he's worth something like that. Then maybe the Titans are just waiting him out to have his market not doing.
That's what I said. He thinks he's valuable than the league does.
He's gone through a full week of free agency and nobody's met what he wants. So that's something there too. TLG has a super chat, says the Titans' aggressiveness is overshadowed by needs. I thought that was an interesting comment and very well worth the $2. The Titans' aggressiveness is overshadowed by needs. It's how much credit do you give them for being aggressive because they had a poor roster and a lot of money to spend because of their poor roster and their expiring contracts. Like they were aggressive in spots. Like they didn't have to go after Calvin Ridley. And they did. They didn't have to go after and give Lloyd Cushenberry the most guaranteed money for a center in league history, but they did. So I think that's an interesting comment. What do you think about that from TLG?
I think that they did four things. So this is where I disagree. They had to go back to what you said. They had a lot of holes to fill, right? So they were a shell of themselves after the season because of the contracts that had expired. But what did they do? They went after, you talk about needs, TLG, needs. They filled the wide receiver need. They alleviated pressure off of Tajay Spears by going to get Tony Pollard because they wanted a 1-2 punch and they needed a running game to help quarterback Will Levis. They filled an offensive lineman hole next to Peter Skoronski that was a veteran that needed the leadership that was closer to Ben Jones than they've had since Ben Jones, right? Where the offensive line was more adequate and they were making playoff runs. They filled the need at corner because Christian Fulton and Caleb Farley, and at times their corners were trash. They were getting beat, right? So they at least addressed some of that. Now that does, and I think that what that does set up, and I will say my opinion over and over and over again, because of what they did, now they can target their true need, which is a stable 10-year left tackle in the first 10 picks of this draft, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's what it did. It didn't, as we just talked about, they have a middle linebacker hole. They have a safety hole. Who's going to play next to Jeffrey Simmons? They still need offensive linemen besides that generational left tackle that you hope to draft. So I think I understand the point, but damn, all of the stuff that they actually did with all of the holes that needed to be filled prior to last Monday, I don't think it was overshadowed. I think that they had to do it, or they're in like second year Houston Texans league 3 years ago. And you're just sitting there saying, well, we're going to wait another year. They didn't do that.
Right. I think it's interesting because the Texans got 14 players and have spent less guaranteed money than the Titans, who had 8 players who have the second most guaranteed money in the league given out through 1 year. So some good comments here. Obvious answer, the Titans were aggressive enough to get the guys they got, but weren't aggressive to guys to get the guys that they need or they missed. Landon says they deserve credit for being aggressive, but not overdoing it by paying bad players just to temporarily fill holes in the team. TLG comes back, who kind of created this conversation, says, I love the move, Zach. It just felt like dumping a bucket of water on a building fire. Yeah, but you got to do something, and you have to start somewhere. And I don't think.
No, here's what it was. It was that big bucket at like Pirate Land when you go to the
you mean Nashville Shores?
Yeah, the Nashville. Yeah, there's a great reference. The Nashville Shores bucket. It's not going to kill the fire. It's a bigger fire than that, but it's much bigger than just a bucket. But it's still a Nashville Shores bucket. It's not like what's the best? A theme park in Cincinnati. What is the big theme park in Cincinnati? God dang. What?
Kings Island.
Kings Island. It's not Kings Island type water bucket. It's Nashville Shores bucket that rednecks go there to pick their scabs in the middle of the summer. No shade, no disrespect on Nashville Shores. You are what you are. But that's my analogy.
Hey, when's the last time you've been to Nashville Shores? They probably upped their game. It's been a while for me.
You can tell me about that. I don't know.
The last time I went, which I was probably about 13 years old, they had added new water slides. Johnny says they've done okay so far, nothing better. Too many holes to fill. This is no better than a 5-win team. I mean, look, they've signed 8 players. They had more holes than 8 players can fill. It's been 5 days, right? Like this is and Austin Burns says, I believe the front office will continue to be this aggressive. It's exactly what ownership wants. Amy Adams-Strunk did not fire Mike Vrabel for no reason. She fired him because she wanted to develop and evolve into what the NFL is, and that is to win championships and to make sure that Will Levis can be a part of that. And so I truly think that they will continue to be aggressive, but it's one of those things where they literally can't do everything at once. And that's where I think when I said 6.5 out of 10 aggressive level last week, knowing that they can't do everything at once.
But they had enough money to do a lot more.
But again, like they had a lot of money to do a lot with, yeah. But are there enough players that warrant all of the money to fill all of the needs in one off season? Because of what you don't have in the third round of the draft, what you have they have a lot of money next year too. And so I think the point is they've done more than I expected so far. I did not expect them to spend the second most guaranteed money in the league through the first week. That's a good thing if you're a Titans fan, but they haven't done dumb things just to spend money. Like they've been calculated and pointed with where they want to fill. And so, yes, it's aggressive because they have team needs, but I see the plan. It's to build around Will Levis with developed offensive stars. DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley will accelerate Will Levis's development because they've been catching touchdowns in the NFL for 6 years and a decade, respectively. So, I like it. it's just going to take more than one offseason, and it's absolutely going to take more than 1 week.
Yeah, I think you go back to the Vrabel thing, and Danny, I think, hits it. Modernization was needed. They chose modernization over – and Mike Vrabel, I thought, was a quality coach. And he was the best coach in the world, but he obviously won Coach of the Year. There's valuable. He got more out of less than a lot of other coaches were able to do. You know, Brandon Staley couldn't get anything out of all of those star-studded players. God knows what Mike Vrabel could have done with that. Right. And now they've changed. But I do think that the modernization was needed. And now, look, there's turnover in football organizations, in sports organizations. Things change and you try different things. And I think this is just an example of the Titans trying different things. And I think on paper, I like it so far.
Yeah. I mean, 3 moves out of their 8 signal philosophy change. Tony Pollard, Lloyd Cushenberry, Calvin Ridley. Mike Vrabel football teams would have never signed any of those 3 players.
I don't think so.
The best available pass protecting center, a clone of Tajay Spears to not tip off allow the defense to read your predictability, and a second dude at wide receiver that was not drafted. They've paid 2 free agent dudes at wide receiver.
They don't usually do that.
No. All right. Let's throw some shade here to wrap up this Tuesday. We always love throwing shade. If you've got some shade on your chest, let us hear it. Throwing shade to wrap the show. And always, shout out Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see our guy Payne Bone in Lebanon, or check them out online to see what they have to offer and save money there with WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Throw in shade. If you got shade in the chat, do it. My shade is the fact that we've had a big show and not nearly enough likes. That's not my actual shade. That's just a little combo in there. We need more likes on the show. So if you have not liked the show and you're watching, please hit that thumbs up button on Facebook and YouTube. Zach, I'll send you to the chat, or if you want to start with your shade, go for it.
Yeah, we'll go to the chat and then I'll go to my shade, because I got some evidence of my shade, which happened last night. And so we'll get to that here in a second. So shade on the Saints for stealing Chase Young right there from Michael. Shade on the Vols for collapsing when it matters. Well, it really matters now coming up this weekend. Austin, you'll be there.
That's right.
Get them to the next weekend.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Let's see. Eric says shade on the Riley Strand situation. Should have never walked by himself, talking about the individual that I assume is still missing. I haven't heard any update after Luke Bryan bar last night. I'll actually give a little context to that. Yeah. All of the people throwing shade at Luke Bryan for the situation, 50
at actual Luke Bryan.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Bryan came out with a statement just for PR purposes of like, yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there's like a moral, like, we hope that he is found. Like, I don't think it is trending to be good just based on history and the amount of time.
11 days is a long time.
Right? But I saw people and articles being written on Luke Bryan. Like 50 million people have gone through that bar since Luke Bryan put his name on it. And this is like one circumstance that doesn't have a lot. So I thought a little shade on the people throwing shade at Luke Bryan. I don't think
anybody that has their name on a bar really does anything with the day-to-day operations of said bar.
Yeah, it's just responsibility, right? So like,
yes,
people that drive down from Kentucky get bad service at Old Red and they don't like Blake Shelton anymore, right? Like they don't make, it doesn't connect the dots. Let's see here. Jay says shade on the NCAA selection committee. So many reasons. Kim Pomeroy would so agree. Shade on my neighbor for leaving her dog outside while she's at work from Curator. Yeah, you got to take care of your pets. Jerome Baker, source in Titans fan page on the weekend. What an idiot. So Nate Spurner is throwing shade there. Eric's throwing shade on drunk drivers. I think we can all get on board for that. Shade on mystery illness. Bork's child has developed. That's never fun. So we wish your child the best.
Hope he
Hill,
gets solved.
shade on Xfinity customer service. Welcome to the show. So rude and never helps you. Welcome to the show. Let's see here. Shade on Austin not knowing Elo's cousin's name. I don't know what that's.
I knew his name, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. I haven't had to say Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie in so many years. And Antonio Cromartie is more in the news because he's got 11 teen kids. And I blended the two. So my apologies. No disrespect to your family, Elo.
Nick says, throwing shade at anyone who thinks the SEC basketball is on par with Big 12 basketball just because they both got 8 teams in. Mountain West got 6 teams, but Big East got 3. Amount of teams doesn't mean crap. Nick, best part is we'll find out, right?
Yeah.
Over the next couple of weeks, we'll find out who is fake and phony and who is the real deal and who can navigate through a very tough tournament. Jimmy throwing shade at Chris Frazier. What's new? There's our weekly Chris Frazier shade from the chat. Go ahead with your shade and I'll get mine.
My shade is sports related. My shade is on Zach Edey and Purdue basketball. I hope they lose early. I do not want to watch Zach Edey lumber around the court looking like Yao Ming anymore. I don't want to see the way that Zach Edey is officiated in March, the way that he just runs through people and they just don't do anything about it. Zach Edey is not going to be anything in the NBA. He is basically the 7th grade year old guy who hit puberty like 2 years before everybody else, grew to 6 foot, catches the ball, turns around and dumps it in the 8-foot goal because you're still playing on short goals when you're that age. Zach Edey, I don't want to watch him anymore. It's bad basketball. It's not entertaining basketball at all. I don't think Purdue is really that great. I think he's got solid skill for what his size is, but I just think it's ridiculous of how he gets officiated. And I think college basketball refs in general are some of the most miserable people on the earth. And Zach Edey makes that worse. So that is my shade. I hope Zach Edey and Purdue don't make it to the second weekend. That's where my shade is on Zach Edey and Purdue.
So my shade on Purdue didn't have to do with Edey. It had to do with the coaching and that last play against Wisconsin. I don't know their roster that well, but the individual that took the ball, they had 4.7 seconds left. He caught the ball 3 feet from the inbounds line and then dribbled all the way while everybody was running to the other end of the court. He could have saved so much time. He shot the basketball with 1.7 seconds left.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a botch job at the end. So we'll see if they learn from that. But I was unimpressed with the end of game control, even though they didn't have timeouts to talk about it. Mine's in basketball as well, but it happened last night. I think John Collins needs to order a Tom Collins at the bar after Ant-Man dominated him. Get out the way. And I'm going to go a step further because what you tattoo on your body, John Collins, this is you right there. Look at your forearm. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Bow right there. That's the emoji that you need to be thinking because Anthony Edwards put you in a stone cold kitchen, brother. Like this was bad. And this is a 1994 poster ready to go up in Minnesota. It's going to be chilly in Minnesota, but Anthony Edwards is going to be keeping John Collins warm up in the Twin Cities. That is shade on the posterizer. And then I'll do a sub shade that actually this shaded over Austin Reeves getting posterized last night in LA. I don't know if you saw that, the first play of the game. Looking at that, nobody paid attention to that because everybody was paying attention to this. But I looked at his forearm and I go, that is hilarious.
Man, that poster looks like, I don't know if this happened at your elementary school, Zach, but every once in a while, like the bookstore would just pop up in the library and you just go get books. Now I'd go get posters because they just have really cool posters. That's like a 1990s poster that I would get at the elementary school bookstore and spend like $2.50 on. That was it's a pretty sick pick. That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. And look, Anthony Edwards ascending. Now, I'm not a big cat guy, but Anthony Edwards also, look, Anthony Edwards, 2 3-pointers on last night's game that he got in the second half, won me a parlay on BetMGM. Thank you, BetMGM. But the Wolves, they got a little bit of steam. I don't love Rudy Gobert. I don't love Cat, but I like Anthony Edwards.
All right, that is Shade for the day. We've got a lot of stuff coming this week. Don't forget, Prince's Hot Chicken is presenting our bracket challenge. Their location brand new at the Tanger Outlets in Nashville. I will go ahead and drop that link again. If you want to sign up for a free to enter bracket challenge, you can. Shout out to Prince's Hot Chicken. The grand prize of the bracket winner is a big screen TV that we will mail to your house. And then the local winners in the Nashville area will get gift cards to Prince's Hot Chicken at the Tanger Outlets Nashville location and to the Tanger Outlets Nashville shopping destination as well. So I just dropped that link in the chat. It's also in the descriptions for both Facebook and YouTube here on the show. So join that bracket challenge. It's always a lot of fun. We're over 100 as of early this morning. So we'll see if we can climb it up. We had 400 plus last year, which was a lot of fun. So shout out to them as well for that. And we will catch you guys tomorrow on a Wednesday. It's me and Sam will be back on here. Maybe we'll talk a little Titans draft, maybe some more free agency. We'll see what the day's news has to come.
Talk about Mason Rudolph. Give Mason Rudolph a bone one day.
Yeah, that's maybe. We'll see what happens here. Who has better hair, Mason Rudolph or Zach Graff?
That guy's a loser, so I'm going with Mason Rudolph.
Like the show before you head out of here. We'll catch you tomorrow. Appreciate it as always.